Hey, what's up you guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I have my December TBR. So I know it's been a minute since I've posted anything. The last video you guys have probably seen was my NK Jemisin vlog for, what is it called? The City We Became. And truthfully, that's because I've had a really rough month in terms of my reading. So I did not complete the Wheel of D20 in the month of November, and I would normally say I would just write off the month completely, but I decided that I was not going to do that. I was going to hold myself accountable for November, and so in December we are going to go up to 4 spins for the Wheel of D20, and if I though complete this month, I will be able to go down to 2 spins in the month of January because I am taking on some additional prompts for punishment. So if I complete all of the prompts I need to for the Wheel of D20 in December, I do get to go back down to 2 in January, as I would have done in December if I was to have actually, you know, completed the wheel as I was supposed to in November. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with that, and let's see what we end up getting. Okay, so because we failed the Wheel of D20 in the month of November, we are going to do 4 spins for December. So let's go ahead and get to spin number 1 and see what we end up getting. Which we get first a fantasy. Nice, easy. There is a lot of books I could throw on there. So let's see what spin number 2 then is. And we get... oh, I have to play Game of the Books for the next few ones. So that's pretty easy. So this is a game by Bookish Buddies. Basically, it is their TBR game that they play about every month. And basically for prompts 2 through 4, we are going to be getting picks from that game board. So let's go ahead and get that set up. So we are basically going to be using the Desertathon board, which is a readathon that Esme from Bookish Buddies had created, and they've been using this board in particular for their actual like TBR game. It's just a really easy board to use. Each of the colors is ascribed to a specific type of prompt from the card, and then these little spots are kind of like a wild card where it's basically like you get to pick. So let's go ahead and pull up some dice and see what we're going to do. I think I'm going to basically do a D20 because that's easy enough for me. All right, so we are going to roll our first one, which is going to be for space number 2, a yellow. Okay, so out of the deck, there are also 20 cards, so we're going to also roll for the card number. So let's see. 8, card number 8. And the yellow prompt is read a backlist book. So anything that basically has been published before 2023, which I've got quite a few on my list that I think will work for this. Okay, roll number 2 is 8, so we go to number 10, which is a gray card. So we have to pick a gray prompt. And what number card are we getting? 17. So the gray prompt is another fantasy book, which technically is a double, so that means I have to add on a roll. If I get the same prompt more than once, that means I have to add on a roll. So we're going to make this 5 books so far for the month of December, which is going to be interesting to say the least. Okay, roll number 3 for this board is 16. So we go to 26, which is orange, I believe. So then what card are we doing this time? Card number 4. And orange is read a sequel. So I have to read a sequel to a series I've already started, which this will be pretty easy. I actually have a few things in mind, and it's going to depend on what the dice end up going with for this one. So let's get the final one, hopefully, for this round. All right, so final roll is a natural 20. So that puts us at 46, which is another gray card. So let's see what we end up getting for our card number. Card number 13. The gray for card number 13 is a book about Arabian Nights. Ooh, this one's going to be tough. I may have to stretch this one because I do not believe I have something like this already. I unhauled more recently my books that were specifically involving or inspired by the Arabian Nights. So I'm going to really have to dig through and see if I can find something. I wonder if there is a little bit of shifting with this one I can do. But we don't have to do another prompt or another roll of any kind. So we're going to stick with 5 for the month. Now, what this means is if I do complete all of my Wheel of D20 prompts, I do still get to go back down to 2 prompts in the month of January. Just because we add on prompts for, doubles or anything, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be stuck with 4 in January. It just means that this is a little bit harder month in terms of the game, but the biggest reward will come when I get to go down to 2, just like I would if I had no doubles, but stuck with the 4 for the punishment, basically, kind of thing. So just going to be a little bit of a heavier punishment this month than previous months. Okay, so for the first round of fantasy, I have decided to put up a couple books that I've been meaning to read for a while. The first one is on my self-destruct TBR for the year of 2023. I would like to try to get through a couple more of my self-destruct TBR books before I ultimately give them away if I can. This one is The Time of Green Magic by Hilary McKay. It is a middle grade story. I don't really know much about it, but it was a Easter gift, I think, from my mom a couple years ago. Just never got a chance to read it. And then this is one of my 2023 anticipated reads. It is Venom and Val by Anna Marie and Elliot Micklemore. This was on my November TBR for the Wheel of D20. Didn't get to it. Really wanted to, so this is the one I'm more interested in. This one, not so much, and it is on my self-destruct TBR. So if I don't read it in the year of 2023, I do have to give it away. That's kind of what I've been doing so far this year. So let's see which of these ends up going on the TBR. And we got a 15. So I will try to get to The Time of Green Magic when I can or whatever if I have the ability to. But Venom and Val is going to go back onto the TBR for the first fantasy prompt. Okay. For the next fantasy prompt, I decided to put up A Crown of Ivy and Glass again because I did want to read this still. This is another 2023 release I was excited about. And up against it, I did put Aragon by Christopher Paolini. This is on my lower priority TBR. Books basically I was interested in but have not really had a chance to get around to as of yet and want to be able to fulfill other things if I get the chance to. So this one, though, is also a bit of a longer book. I mean, it's a very fast read from what I remember the first time, though. And I just recently, here as of like today, the day I'm filming this, got the newest book that is in the world of Aragon, which is Murtagh. And I, since getting that, have wanted to kind of pick Aragon back up because I only read the first book, but I have the whole series. So I would like to be able to get back to this because I really did enjoy Aragon from when I first read it. So let's see which one goes on the TBR this month. And that is a 14. So we are going to skip Aragon for right now, and we are going to pick back up A Crown of Ivy and Glass. Kind of happy that 2 of my books from November I didn't get to end up making it this month. That's actually pretty nice. It kind of feels like it was meant to be that these ones I was going to end up reading before the end of the year. So let's hope I can get through this one. Okay, next for the backlist prompt. This one, I did a couple lower priority books again for this. I put City of Glass kind of more in the want to read because this is actually one I am more interested in reading than The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. V.E. Schwab, I found I am very hit or miss with, so I'm a little nervous about going into The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I have really enjoyed my reading this time of the Mortal Instruments series, so I feel like I might gel a little bit more with this one. So let's see which one we end up going with for the backlist. And that is a 7. So we are going to put The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue on the TBR this month. Oh, I've heard this is really good. I've heard that this is some of her best work, so I'm hopeful, but based on how I viewed the Shades of Magic series, I don't know. I really didn't like the first book. I decided to not continue with it, but I did really, really like Gallant a lot. So let's hope that this one fares a lot better. Okay, so for this one, I really had to think, but when I found these books, I kind of thought they would work really well. I mean, obviously this one does for the Arabian Nights prompt. I mean, come on. This is the Twisted Tales story by Liz Braswell called A Whole New World. This is, I believe, technically the first book in the Twisted Tales series, which is basically the Disney stories, but something is different about them, which for this one, it is what if Aladdin had never found the lamp. So this is basically like, what if the story of Aladdin was completely changed by one particular thing and Jafar had been the one to find the lamp and obtain it in the first place, as opposed to what actually happened in the story of Aladdin. So obviously this one fits the Arabian Nights very, very well. It is what basically is the Arabian Nights. It's one of the stories of the 1001 Arabian Nights kind of thing. Now this one is another 2023 release I was really excited about. This is The Daughters of Izdihar by Hadir El-Spy. This is based in Egypt, from what I understand, and while it's not necessarily Arabian in the sense of like being from Saudi Arabia of any kind, like that's what I think of when I think of Arabian, but I could be entirely wrong. This does have the deserty vibes that I get from like the Arabian Nights, so I thought this would work just as well, and I was really, really having to stretch for something to work, and I thought that this one would at least give me the similar vibes, if not give me the actual like location aspect of Arabian Nights. So plus it's a book I've been wanting to read this year, so let's see which one we end up getting. And that is a natural 16. So we are going to put The Daughters of Izdihar on here. I have 3 2023 releases on this list, which is very good considering I have not really touched many of my 2023 releases yet this year. Finally, for the sequel prompt, I have 2 series that I would like to continue, one of which the newest book came out in 2023, which is the Newlyweds Guide to Fortune and Murder, part of the Countess of Harley mysteries by Diane Freeman. You guys know I started the Countess of Harley mysteries earlier this year, fell in absolute love with it, binged through all 5 books that came out, and this is book number 6. These books are really short. They're really cute historical fiction, cozy mystery kind of things, and I just absolutely adore this series. I binged through, I think, 5 books in probably like a week or so, it felt like. I mean, I probably wasn't like that, but definitely got through them very, very quickly. Now, I did put A Crown of Swords on here, which is the next book I need to read in the Wheel of Time, because I did really like Lord of Chaos. That book I was stuck on for the longest time with the Wheel of Time, and you guys know I actually ended up really enjoying it and getting kind of back in the swing of the Wheel of Time. And I was just talking about this series actually yesterday with one of my cousins who is starting the Wheel of Time, and he was asking for my thoughts on it, and so I thought about picking it back up if I could, but if I'm not going to in December, I will try to continue and finish the series hopefully in 2024. So that's one of my goals for 2024, is to finish up this series. But let's go ahead and see which of these goes for the sequel prompt for this month. And that is a natural 14. So that does mean we are going to put the Newlyweds Guide to Fortune and Murder on the TBR. This is a lot shorter. It's a faster read. It is like, seriously, you finish this in like a day kind of thing. So definitely going to be very, very happy for this, especially like, or probably around like winter break kind of thing when I'm not going to be working a ton. So very, very excited to be able to binge through this one again and get back into this world, because I absolutely adore the Countess of Harley stories. They are so good, and definitely a highly recommended historical fiction cozy mystery series if you are looking for one. So as you guys saw, we'll do a quick recap of everything that I had gotten. So for the first fantasy prompt, we ended up going with Venom and Val by Anna Marie and Elliot Micklemore. This was a carryover from November that I was able to get on to my December TBR, so very happy about that one. Next, for the backlist book, we ended up going with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Again, a little nervous for this one because I'm very hit or miss with V.E. Schwab, but hopefully this one ends up being a favorite. I really hope so. I would really like to be able to give V.E. Schwab more chances if I can, because I just really did not like Dark Shade of Magic. I really didn't. Next, for the second fantasy prompt, we ended up getting A Crown of Ivy and Glass by Claire Legrand. I will not be doing the review like I had thought I was going to in November, because that was what I originally had gotten this book for in November, was for a more rant review / video kind of thing. But I will be reading this in hopefully December. Still very excited to read it. Happy to have gotten this on the TBR for the month since I didn't get to read it in November. But I just won't be doing a specific review for it. You guys will see my thoughts in the Wheel of D20 video when it comes out. Then for the prompt of a sequel, I ended up going with A Newlywed's Guide to Fortune and Murder by Diane Freeman. This is the 6th and so far final book. I don't think it's the final book as of yet. I don't know. But this is the newest book in this series, and I'm so excited to read it because it's very short, it's very easy to fly through, and I love this series. It is so fun to read every single time I get into this world. And finally, for the prompt of Arabian Nights, we ended up going with The Daughters of Izdihar by Hadir El-Spy. The last 4 prompts I ended up getting were books that were picked by Esme's from Bookish Buddies Game of the Books. But this was for the prompt of a book that reminded me of the Arabian Nights. Very excited to read this. It was another 2023 release I wanted to read this year that I'm very happy to be able to put on the TBR. And it is actually a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be, so might be able to get through this pretty quickly. So before we get into my other readathon stuff that I want to get into, I do want to talk about the books that I'm going to be reading for book clubs and stuff. The first one is for the final N.K. Jemisin book for the year. We are wrapping up the N.K. Jemisin read-along for the year 2023, which is absolutely bonkers to me. I cannot believe I have done a read-along this entire year, and it was so successful for me. So I'm so happy with how it's gone. I'm happy with the books I've read. I have found N.K. Jemisin to be a favorite author of mine now, but we are going to be wrapping up the City We Became duology, the Great Cities duology, by reading The World We Make, which is the second and final book in this duology. I absolutely love The City We Became, and I cannot wait to see how The World We Make is. I'm so freaking excited. This is just going to be so much fun. Okay, so now we're going to go into the Aurelium Lightfall TBR. I am deciding to participate in the Lightfall round of Aurelium. It is only 2 weeks in the month of December, from December 9th to December 17th. And this one, I have one book that I have to do a little bit differently because it requires a little bit more randomization. But we're going to get into the books that I'm going to read for the different prompts. So for the first one, which is for the All Tales bookstore, we are going to read a book that I had wanted to read but haven't. So for that, I'm going to go with The Daughters of Izdihar because it is on my 2023 list and I've been wanting to read it, but I haven't as of yet. Next, we have Wallace's Wonderful Winter Animals, which is a book with snow or ice on the cover. For this, I'm going to go with A Betrayal of Stores by Ben Alderson. I've had this book for years. Ben Alderson was the creator of Off Tones Publishing several years back and has since become his own very predominantly indie male romance fantasy author, and I have liked some of his books in the past, and so I think I'm gonna like this one. It's just been a minute since I've really read his work, and this is one of his more, I think, popular stories, if I'm not mistaken. Next, for Shank & Shaw Legitimate Retailer, we have Steal a Book from Somebody Else's TBR, which for this, I have not really seen anybody post anything as of yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and double check to see if anyone has posted on social media about their December TBRs. Okay, Gavin's end of year TBR. Ooh, okay. So one of the things that Gavin is going to be reading is the Percy Jackson series, which I have already started the Percy Jackson series. I'm up to book 4, I think. So I think I'm going to pick up book 4 for this prompt. And book 4 is The Battle of the Labyrinth. So this is a really short series. This is a Greek inspired. It's a middle grade. It's Rick Riordan's, like, one of his most famous series. So that's a really nice, easy pick for me. And it ticks off one of the series I've been trying to finish, which is the Percy Jackson series. So that will work. I will take it. Thanks, Gavin. Next, for Smith & Sons and Friends Arcane Things and Such, we have the last book I added to my want to read list, which for that is Wish of the Wicked, which is not with me right this minute, but it is downstairs. It is Daniel Page's newest book. Don't really know much about it. I just really liked Daniel Page's Wizard of Oz series. That was kind of the Dorothy Must Die series, basically. And really liked that, so I wanted to kind of see what other books she wrote. I've yet to read The Ravens, which she did with Cass Morgan, I think, but I heard that that was actually pretty decent, so I'm pretty excited to see how this one goes. Next, for Occult Premonitions, this is to do a random tarot generator to create your prompt. So for this, I have to draw a tarot card and pick a book that basically in some way is inspired by that card. So we are going to go with a deck that I think fits this time of year the best, and I have to go through my decks to figure that out. Well, the boys have decided to come and help me, but what better one to go with than my Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck. I absolutely love this thing. It is my very first tarot deck I ever used, and it's Nightmare Before Christmas inspired, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies and Halloween movies to watch. So let's see what card we end up getting. My spirit team, what card do you want me to use for a prompt? There's got to be somebody in my spirit team that's going to be excited for this and give me something good. Okay, so we had a couple fall out, so I'm going to take the top one, which is the star, which is personified by 0. So the star is about hopefulness. It's about kind of that light at the end of the tunnel. 0 in particular, there's white, there's black, there's a little bit of orange, a little bit of red on the card. There's some dark gray. So really you can do whatever it is that you want with this. So I think what I'm going to do is, for this in particular, we're going to go with something with white and black on the cover, because that is something I associate more so with 0, is kind of that white and black dichotomy. So now I need to go through and find a book that has both black and white on the cover, which is going to be interesting. Well, that worked out absolutely perfectly, because I was able to figure out that my other book I had wanted to read in November for the Wheel of D20 that I didn't get to do is going to work for this. So, Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. There's white down here, then there's black in the main art of the cover. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? That's perfect. And I also grabbed Wish of the Wicked, which I want to say this is Red Riding Hood inspired, but oh no, Cinderella inspired. Okay, interesting. Hope I like that one as much as I like Cinderella is Dead. Next, for Owl Cat Craft Cafe, this is to read an audiobook while crafting. So for this, I'm going to be working on Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, which I forgot to mention was one of my books I was going to read in the month before getting into Aurelium stuff, but it's fine. So yes, this is the final book for the Octavia E. Butler read-along that my friends Bree and Maya are hosting this year. And this is, I think, one of Octavia's most popular stories in general is Kindred. And this is very much in that sci-fi realm. I believe this has to do with time travel, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm very excited to get through this one. And I think this is going to be really good to do when I'm doing some kind of crafting, which I will likely do diamond painting while listening to the audiobook. But there you guys have it. Those are all of the books I will be reading in the month of December. It's quite a few. And I'm crossing my fingers that this month will go better than last month did, considering I only read like 2 books in the month of November. But it was a weird month. It was a very, very weird month. I started up with new job and a lot of other things, and it just kind of got away from me the whole month, really. It felt like both the longest and the shortest month that I've ever experienced. So it was really weird. I don't know what happened. I don't know how that all went down exactly, but it is what it is. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below to subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.